Hello kiddos, hello culinarians. So we are on day 4 of feeding and I haven't fed these guys yet, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in your jars. Yesterday we learned that fermentation is when yeast, whether it's wild or cultured yeast, gets a hold of some sugars or carbohydrates and eats them, it converts them into carbon dioxide and ethanol alcohol. The carbon dioxide is what is giving us our bubbles, and the ethanol alcohol is a side product of that. There's also a little friend in here that's a bacteria called lactobacillus, and it is sour and acidic. Wild yeast can survive in that acidity. Cultured yeast, the dry powder stuff you get, cannot. So that is one of the reasons that wild yeast has a better flavor and gives a different texture to your baked goods. Acidity affects starches so that they're a little more tender, and it also kills off bad bacteria. So your sourdough products are actually going to last longer and not stale as quickly. So here are some notes before we have a look at our cultures. So that dry powdered cultured yeast that you get, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, actually originally came from a wild strain of yeast that was discovered to be pretty fast acting and consistent. So it was cultured and it is reproduced, and it's very much similar to the original strain that was used. One of your fun facts about that scientific name, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, means sugar-eating mushroom, because that's what it does. It eats and it makes ethanol and carbon dioxide. It's not as flavorful as the disadvantage to it. However, as an advantage, that kind of yeast works super well as far as being predictable. It moves fast. It's like a thoroughbred horse. It's made to go fast. It acts a certain way under certain temperatures and conditions, and it's really dependable. Wild yeast, on the other hand, less so. So wild yeast, like I said, has that lactobacillus culture in it. It is converting sugars to lactic acid, and anything that's acidic is kind of sour. One of the disadvantages of wild yeast in your sourdough culture is that it moves a lot more slowly. So it's not that thoroughbred racehorse. It's a little bit more like a wild stallion. It might be fast under the right circumstances if it feels like it, but you're kind of at its mercy. You can only really control some of its variables. It can also survive in those acidic environments, which is why the lactobacillus culture that it works with is able to thrive alongside the yeast and give us that yummy, slightly acidic flavor. And like I said, it also protects your baked goods from going stale. So even if you are planning on doing a bread that asks for cultured yeast, powdered yeast, if you have been feeding your sourdough starter, you can add a little bit of that in there and it will help prolong the life of your bread. So it's a nice little side thing you can do with your discard. So let's have a look at these cultures here. So we can see, first I want to draw your attention to, see how we've got this line? That is where it rose and receded a little bit. So we're a little over our 12-hour feeding. But that indicates that it's on the downside. And you might notice there's a little bit of liquid. That's our ethanol. And then we've got lots of good bubbles in here. This thing has been happy. These are all performing pretty well. Right now the whole wheat is doing the best, but not by a ton. The pineapple leaf is doing okay. I am working on doing a overtime exposure thing over a series of days. And so I won't show a lot of mixing, but I will start showing you some things you can do with your discard, because I think this is active enough that we can cook with it. That's all I have for you today, but stay with it. I'm getting some really nice messages from some of you that are not my classroom students, but are my students out there. Some of you are doing stuff with your kids or just for funsies on your own, and I love it. I'm glad that I'm able to be useful to you. Just keep it up and enjoy the experimentation, and we'll have something good to eat at the end of this, I promise. You guys have a great day, and thank you so much.